young and tall and tan and lovely. The girl from Ipanema, alluring when she passes. She is desirable. She is the seat of desire, an unlikely topic for a Sunday service. But all over the world it has been part of religion. The maiden. The siren's song. The 72 virgins in heaven. The nymphs of spring bring nature to life and sleeping with the gods. And the triple nature of the goddess is maiden, mother, and crone. But the maiden is most enigmatic, virginal, yet a temptress, an impossible mix of purity and sensuality. Persephone, the daughter of spring, taken down to the underworld by Hades, the god of death, whose mother rescues her each year so that spring can return. Japanese spring deities are also maidens. Amo no Uzumi, Japanese fertility goddess, a witty goddess of persuasion. She performed a bawdy dance, hoping to entice the sun out of hiding. And the dance symbolizes the planting of the seed which waits for the sun to come after winter. And then there's Yaya Zakuria, this Japanese cherry tree goddess, this beautiful young woman each spring. She remains celibate while her beauty lasted, only taking lovers when the last of the petals have fallen. Here all of nature is a gentle blossom being deflowered. Again, in Greek mythology, there are the nymphs. They're spirits of nature, they're female deities, protectors of springs, mountains, and rivers. Nymphs are represented as young, pretty girls, and each subtype presides over a certain nature. There are dryads for the forest, and naiads for the springs and rivers, and nereids, the Mediterranean, and oceanids for the oceans. They were worshipped. But these stories always have gods and mortals being drawn to the nymphs in an uncontrollable force. And here's one story of a successful mortal resistance about Ulysses. Ulysses has visited the Aegean and recounted to Circe his adventures and the wondrous visions. And she told him which way to go home, but she said, be careful of this one island. Because the islands was the coast of the sirens, and these nymphs had a power, charming all who heard them, so that the mariners were impelled to cast themselves over the side of the boat, because they could, if they heard them singing. So they put wax in the ears of all the sailors so that they wouldn't hear. And Ulysses said, tie me to the mast, and so that I do not stray and throw myself off the boat. And he obeyed these directions, and as they approached the island, the sea was calm, and over the water came music so ravishing and attractive that Ulysses struggled to get loose and signed to his people, begged to be released, but they, obedient to his orders, sprang forward and bound him faster still. They held on until the music grew fainter, and they made it past the island. Why do these maidens have such power? How do these myths get started? When I read these, I think that they're harmful to young women. They foster the idea that young women are man traps. Even poor Zeus, king of the gods, just had to sleep with them all. He just couldn't help himself. The maiden is an archetype of innocence and beauty. And the myth is that somehow by capturing these maidens, one captures innocence and beauty. But if you read the stories, the very act of capture, of trying to cling to this beauty, inevitably defiles it. It has this kind of whole mythos that males are put under a spell by females, and it lessens the notion of personal responsibility. And additionally, in many of these stories, that once the man is overcome by his passion, the nymph gets no choice in whether that passion is consummated. You see this in the story of the Virgin Mary. God descends and impregnates, holds himself blameless. This gospel story represents a Greek myth more than the Hebrew tradition. The god of rape is even more apparent in this Ojibwa story of Winona. She was the daughter of a great Ojibwa goddess. She was a virgin mother who was raped 4 times by the same Manitou or spirit. It happened that she was in the forest picking berries one day, and she had a need to urinate, and she forgot the warning that women should always face west while making water. And the Manitou saw her, and he took her, and through this spirit union, she acquired magical powers of fertility and longevity and gave birth to heroic sons. Why do the gods choose virgins? What makes them so alluring? What makes the 72 virgins in heaven a reward for Muslims who want to be martyrs? Desire. Where does it come from? Is it from the object of desire or within the person desiring? The pursuit of beauty. Is beauty in the beholden or in the eye of the beholder? Is hope in the thing hoped for or in our own fondest dreams? Is temptation brought on by drugs and sex and sweets? Or do we have an inner addiction to these things? This story from the Oglala people shows that the Maiden Goddess is only a dangerous siren when you choose to run to it. Tisinui, the sacred woman, brought secret knowledge to the Oglala. It was said that she first appeared to 2 young men as a white-clad lady whose clothing was lavishly embroidered with porcupine quills in exquisite patterns. One of the young men was overtaken by lust, but the second recognized that she was no earthly woman. The first, although warned, could not contain himself. He rushed open-armed towards the woman. She smiled, and a soft white cloud descended to cover their embrace. When it passed, the woman stood alone with the young man's skeleton at her feet. Smiling, she told the second man that the dead man had been awarded just what he sought. She instructed the other man to return to his village and set the people to building a huge sacred tent. And then she entered the village, and the people were enraptured by her presence. Walking 7 times around the central fire, she spoke to them, giving them a bag containing the sacred pipe and teaching them the ceremonies that went with these objects. She reminded them of the mystery of their mother, the earth, and urging them always to honor her. And she disappeared in the shape of the white buffalo. Think of what we lose by seeing the female only as alluring. The Hindu tradition gives a sense that attractiveness itself is an illusion. There is a goddess named Maya who is seen as the illusory form of Devi, the divine goddess. In Vedanta philosophy, this concept of Maya is not just a goddess, but it is the concept of illusion. Illusion of a limited, purely physical and mental reality, which our everyday consciousness has become entangled, veiling the true unitary self, also known as Brahman. This physical and mental, the desire we feel tempted by might not arise within ourselves, within our mental, or be the fault of the temptress, the physical. It may all be an illusion. It may all be Maya. We want things. We want stuff. And we fail to see that we are already one with everything. We think that the answer lies in some pure promise, some mythic beauty. But it's all around us, and it's within us. We think evil is something outside of ourselves that must be resisted by plugging our ears and tying ourselves to the mast. But it's within us, and it's all around us. We must not be over-tempted or over-hopeful of the forces outside ourselves. And we cannot only depend on ourselves. We must always see ourselves in the context of the whole. The beauty we seek is all around us, and we are intimately connected with it. In UU parlance, the interdependent web of existence of which we're a part. There's no need to capture and destroy beauty. When we look to the goddess, may we also see ourselves and participate in that beauty. The song of the girl from Ipanema is probably as beautiful as that girl was when she walked by. The observer and the observee preserved together in beauty. There might not have been a song if this guy ever got a date with her. We're left with that magic moment of, Let us now listen to the choir sing, Grace, my lovely one, fair beauty. Another song about just that moment of living in beauty.